Okay, so hello everybody. We are, oh my God, I have been so excited about this evening. I caught up with Simone last year, and I was cheeky enough to ask if she would come and join us, so have a pleasure of her company. So for those of you who don't know me, I am Sarah from Berkshire Dog Training. I'm based in Reading in Berkshire, and I support dogs through puppy early stages and through their adult life. But because of my own dog's challenges with certain behaviours when they got outside in the real world, especially around squirrels, I discovered this wonderful guest today, and delighted that she will be joining us. So Claire, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, hello, I'm Claire over at Insight Hounds. So with Insight Hounds, I only work with sight hounds, and I specialise in ex-racing greyhounds within that. So Simone's work has played a big part in what I do, as sight hounds have quite a lot of predation instincts going on there, especially around the chase side of it. So very excited about today.
Yes.
So,
Hello.
Simone, if you want to introduce yourself.
Absolutely, I want to. Hi, Sarah. Hi, Claire. Thank you so much for the invitation. And thank you, everybody, for coming and watching this. I'm also super excited to be here. I've had this in my calendar for ages, and it always kept popping up when I started my computer in the morning. I don't know why it did, but it did. And I was always looking forward to it. Yeah.
Oh, brilliant! Yeah, no. So yeah, because and we both, Claire and I, have met you in person. We've had the fortune to I did your instructor course back in 24 was when I graduated, but I was with you last year when we did the course up in. Oh, we had that random snow, didn't we?
Yeah.
Suddenly appeared. And Claire, where is it in Wales you went to?
Wrexham, yes, we were in Wrexham this sort of time last year. So yeah,
It was
March
in March.
last year. So.
It was lovely. Yeah.
It was really nice weather as well, wasn't it? Yeah, lovely time in Wales.
So we luckily we're back on the screen again to see you, and so for anybody that's joining us that maybe has been living under a rock for the last few years and has no idea who you are and why we've invited you here, do you want to give us a little bit about who you are, your background, and
course.
how did it come about that this was going to be your passion, and bring this to life?
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Simone. I'm from Germany. I'm a dog trainer, dog behavior consultant, and I specialize in predation training. So I deal with dogs. I deal with dogs with a high prey drive, and I use kind and friendly training methods. So I would call myself a force-free trainer. And this is really ever since I started my dog trainer education. This has been my passion, because this is the part of dog training that I have always been most interested in. How to deal with these difficult behaviors when you have a dog that is chasing wildlife and is always sniffing and tracking outside and is completely disengaged when you take the dog outside, pulling the leash. So these are my most favorite clients.
And is that was it something you were experiencing personally, or is it because you had there was where you live maybe driving the demand?
So I had this personally when I had my first dog in 2002. It was quite a long while ago. My first own dog that I was responsible for. Her name was Malinka. She was an Australian Shepherd mix. And she developed a pretty strong prey drive. She was not the type who was searching for prey all the time with her nose. She was rather the type that when she saw something, or at least she thought she saw something, like a twig or something that was rustling, she was running like a maniac into the forest. And then she was sometimes gone for a couple of minutes. Sometimes she came back straight because there was nothing, obviously, but she was always like, there could be a deer or there could be a rabbit or something like this. And then she pulled off. Yeah.
And that feeling when your dog bolts like that, it's just the worst feeling, isn't it?
It is. Yeah, I was I did so much with her. I mean, I was in my 20s, I was at uni, I had a lot of time. So I did obedience courses, I did agility with her. She was a very active and agile dog. We went riding, so she went with the horse together, and she was always very good with the horses, because when she was on a horse, next to a horse, she did not have the time or the headspace to run off. But when I walked her, it was a nightmare, and I was so frustrated because I thought I was doing so much with her, and she was so good all the time. 99% of the time, she was the best dog. She could be off leash, no problem with other dogs, no problem with anything. But then,
yeah.
And
I think I can definitely sympathise with that. I mean, what about you, Claire?
Yeah, and I think obviously working with sight hounds and X-racing greyhounds, so many of the conversations I have with people is like, my dog's wonderful inside, outside they start hunting and they're just looking, and it's like I just become white noise, and if they've seen something small and fluffy, then they become white. Yeah, the human at the end of the lead just becomes white noise, and I think sometimes the human doesn't know what to do with that, and they're just like no, 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 and it's all quite let's get you away, and from the dog's point of view it seems strange. So I suppose because in their eyes that's just the natural thing to go and do, which I suppose leads us quite on to predation and what their predatory motor pattern is, because I suppose that's a big starting point of the conversation, isn't it? So if we understand what that is, and you're happy to explain that, Simone, so people can know why their dogs are ignoring them and running off after them.
First of all, I just want to add that you cannot step into this with traditional training methods. So you can do a lot of obedience training, and your dog is super doing sit and down and come under no distraction or something like this. But when it comes to predatory behavior, this doesn't really work. So we need other approaches. But Claire, as you mentioned, there is this thing that is called the predatory motor pattern. And maybe let's start with explaining what predation actually is, because normally when we think about prey drive, and then we think of a dog chasing or killing livestock or wildlife and stuff like that. And although this is of course true, this is a part of predatory behavior, there is so much more going on for the dog and also for the owner, but often the owner does not really realize that the dog is already in hunting mode, because it all starts with orientation behavior, like a dog looking around in the environment, sniffing the ground, maybe listening. And when they find something in the environment that is chaseable or huntable, then the next step would be that they go into a stalk and they start to look at this other animal and fixate on this other animal. And then they creep forward to bridge the gap between themselves and the other animal, because this biologically, this absolutely makes sense, because when you are a wild canine, like a wolf, for example, you have to think about your calories. You have to think about how do I save calories and make sure that I really get the other animal, because when you start chasing from straight away, the prey animal already hears you and sees you, so they might run away and you have no chance. So they sneak up to the animal and then they go into the chase. And this is when the dog owners realize, oh my God, here's everything's going wrong now. But you see that we had a lot going on before that.
Yeah. And I remember that you've always said, and I share this as well, is that, up to the chase is actually the safe elements in principle, but you can do all those elements with your dog, and we'll talk about some resources that I know that you have on your website that we can, like the stalking game. Oh my God, it's, people look at me and go, I don't really understand it, but now they see me do it, and it just brings it to life. And I really do hunt with Poppy in particular. But after chase, then it becomes, then we start becoming concerned, because that is the unsafe element, isn't it, Simone? So after the chase, there are several other elements, aren't they, that our dogs may need to fulfill as their genetic need. Is that, that's my understanding.
Of course, yeah. So the dogs do not know that we live in a, in a modern world where you cannot just grab a cat and kill the cat or something like that. So what comes after the chase for a wild canine is that they grab and they kill and then they dissect and eat, and then the predatory sequence has come to a full circle, to an end, and yeah, the body can go back to a more normal state, to a more relaxed state, because all that came before that was connected with high activity, high arousal. And our dogs still show that, and they have these needs and they want to perform it. But as I said, we cannot just let them do that. So we need to give them safe outlets and substitutions for all these kinds of behaviors that are unsafe to do.
Yeah, and I think, you know, Claire, for your sight hounds, it's quite an interesting one, isn't it? Because, you know, would you say, you know, they are quite quick off the mark, aren't they? So all those little,
Yes.
you know, those little signs, you know, for a collie, a border collie, they're giving all the signs quite clearly, quite visibly,
Yes.
aren't they?
Yeah.
You know, we talk about orientation and and stalking and stuff. And we talk about collies quite, because it's quite a nice example, isn't it, of what a dog does. But you know, if I look at a greyhound, I don't think I might struggle just to know what signs they're telling us about before they go, shoo, gone. Because, you know, they are just built for those short distances, aren't they?
Yeah, I see, and go. There's very little of the kind of orientation and stalk. It's like boom and gone with those particular breeds, and that's what our ancestors bred them to do. There can be little tells, but again, sight-hand body language is often quite subtle, especially in dog language. But then you can train for doing more of the watching and the stalking side of things. So as part of your games now, Simone, me and my whippet, who has a very high prey drive, will stand and watch squirrels in the tree, and we'll talk about it, and I'll be pointing them out to him, and we'll have a little natter, and then we'll have a little game afterwards, and it does really help him. But I suppose a common question that I get asked, that I know the answer, but I imagine people would, as I say, a common question that comes up is, when we talk about training, we do talk about keep rehearsing the behaviour, and you'll make that behaviour stronger and more likely to happen and better. So when we start talking about predation and substitutes, people are like, well, surely you're just going to make my dog's prey drive worse because you keep rehearsing it and you're practicing these games. So could you explain in your words how that is not the case, or why that is not the case for anyone watching?
This is actually a very good question, because you're right, the dog learns predatory behavior not only through their genetic makeup, mostly through the genetic makeup, but also through rehearsing, through practice. So practice makes perfect, even with hunting behavior. But on the other hand, you cannot teach a dog that has no prey drive. If you have a dog with a very low or moderate prey drive and you play games with them, they will not start to increase the prey drive. So this is the genetic makeup. You can basically not change it completely. You can just you have some range where you can work in, but the genetic makeup is very strong. On the other hand, this means if you have a dog that already has a strong prey drive, you cannot make it worse by playing predation games, because the dog already has this genetic makeup. But what you can do now is you can start to ritualize it, so that the dog only shows it in certain boundaries, for example, in these games. The dog has these needs, so we need to give them an outlet. It doesn't make sense to just suppress it and say, no, you cannot chase anything, no ball, no treat, no squirrel, nothing. So we have to differentiate what are safe outlets, and then we give it to the dog. So for example, play a chase game instead of chasing a real squirrel. But in general, if a dog already has this genetic makeup, then you have to do something about it. And the traditional training protocols, they only focus on interruption, so like recall training, for example. But to be honest, if you only ever recall the dog out of the situation and they are never allowed to show and display these behaviors, this increases frustration. It's like you want to read a book or watch a movie, and I'm always like, no, look at me, don't look at that, turn around, don't look at the screen. And this makes you crazy, and this makes you go frustrated and angry. And what happens, this is the one point, so that you get the killjoy for the dog. So you become the one who spoils the fun for them, and this puts a strain on the relationship. But the worst thing about it is that when high prey drive dogs or high energy dogs, when they experience frustration, the frustration translates into more movement and more prey drive, because they try harder, and their genetics tell them, yeah, you have to go for it, you have to overcome this obstacle that is your owner, and this leads to even more frustration, more prey drive, more struggles. So simply suppressing it or recalling the dog all the time is not a good solution, to be honest.
Yeah, and I, do you know, that was the light bulb moment for me, Simone, with Poppy. You know, you and I have talked about my gorgeous little terrier mix,
Yeah.
my diva, and I was absolutely broken. I didn't enjoy walking. I wanted her to be off the lead, but she couldn't be off the lead, and I was in that. I was as an owner, I was in that. She was fighting against me. It was just getting worse and worse and worse. And then I discovered you, and it was just, the relationship just went completely 180 degrees, you know, and it's just, she's off the lead, she comes back, you know, yes, recall is never 100%, is it? You know, it's you know, and I'm very, you know, wise to that. But, you know, the fact that we're playing all this interaction games, and, you know, every day we do something, you know, and I am, you know, known in the county to be the sausage lady,
Sausage.
I love it. You know, I love the fact I'm shouting sausage, you know, and she's, you know, she's running around all the different trees in the local parks here in Reading. And, you know, while she's trying to find that squirrel, I'm loading up the tree full of, you know, treats and everything else. And then I'm shouting sausage, so she knows it's coming back. And then she gets to scramble up the tree and fulfill that whole circle of, you know, that chain. And to see her do that, and then she just stands there going, oh, I was so clever. You know, you can just see the joy in her face. And I'm just going, yay, we've got it, we've nailed it. And for that joy as an owner with her, it just, you know, that's why I want so many people to hear about what we do and how you promote it, because it just, there is such a different way to be with your dog.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So definitely. I think we've talked really nicely there about kind of like the start and the predation, and kind of the after effect of how good it can feel once we get this stuff in a better place. But Simone, from your point of view, I know we have so many games that you have, and we can't possibly in a live talk about all the different games, but there was the one that was like a breakthrough moment for you, or was it a concept of looking at the predatory motor pattern and going, how do I build games into this? How did the kind of bridge between the two start for you, and was there anything that really stood out or made the difference?
Yeah.
Good
So
question. Right, okay.
So the most difference for me and my Malinka back then was, although I learned a lot and I read a lot of books and stuff like that, but then I discovered a nice, super simple game that changed really the way we walked. Because for her, the problem, as I already said, was that she was constantly looking out for something. So she was always in this orientation behavior. And she was always looking for wildlife. And then I gave her something else to look for, which was an absolute game changer. I simply taught her to touch different objects in the environment and look out for those objects by herself. So she was, in the beginning, I pointed them out and I rewarded her for putting her paws on a log or a stone or a grid or something like this. And after a while, she developed the sense for these targets. And then she was looking out for targets. So we only ever had the chasing problem then when there was really something directly in front of us. Right. And this reduced these running into the forest moments to, I would say, maybe 10% of the original amount of her running off. because now she was looking for logs and looking for the stones. And if there was nothing around, she didn't run off anymore. And to be honest, I put this into a freebie, so I have it on my website. So if somebody feels like this might be helpful, I called it the jump and run game, because it reminded me of these Super Mario games where you always jump on something and you collect your tokens and stuff like that. And in German, at least in German, I don't know what it is like in English, but in German we call those games jump and run games, because you jump and you run, and then I call the game jump and run, and it's on my website as a freebie. So if you like it and you think it might be helpful for your dog, go there and download it.
We'll make sure that we put your contact information on the comments and stuff. So, but and that's great. And I just want to tap into the walking element, actually, because was it 2024 you came out with the Walking Together book?
Yeah, it was.
So that's your that's your latest book, isn't it? And and I was, it's one of those that I kind of went, I'll be honest, I was like going, well, what on earth is this? Like, I'm completely on board with everything else, but I'm not sure I'm quite on board with this. Okay. And I started reading it, but I am absolutely a convert, and I use it, and anyone who's worked with me recently over the last few years, Walking Together and some of those slowing down, calming activities, helping your dog. I've got a beautiful video of a collie, going into the arm and ahs, doing start the button as they're licking, right? It's just resetting it. So, talk, if you don't mind, just talking a little bit about the Walking Together, element, because I think that is maybe not as prevalent in, people know about the hunting and the prey drive, but actually, how does the environment really impact our dogs being able to walk, calmly when we're out in those situations?
Yeah. To be honest, my dogs, for about 10 years, they were not able to walk on a loose leash, because I hated training loose leash walking. It was so for me. My husband always said, if we just knew a dog trainer who could teach our dogs loose leash walking, because I really hated to train this, because all the methods were so ineffective, and I didn't really like them. But I had clients coming to my predation training, and when we talked, and always the same thing came up. It always came up that the client said he cannot walk on a loose leash. It's not possible. The setters, the pointers, the terriers, the hounds, they all have the same problem with loose leash walking. And I think it's so heartbreaking, because the people take them to obedience classes, to loose leash walking classes, and all the other dogs are so good and they're getting it, the border collies, the Labradors, and those breeds that I work with, they never get it. So there must be a systemic problem to that. And I thought about this, and I looked around to other trainer colleagues who always work, who also work with high prey drive dogs, and I came up with some ideas what might be the root cause of this. And again, we have the prey drive, the underlying frustration that they get held back by the leash, that makes them try harder because their genetics tell them so, and they just need a different approach. And all the typical traditional approaches of loose leash walking, like the stop and go method and stuff, it's just frustrating for them. It just so I thought, let's do this differently.
And it really does work, because you are, and actually I think what I found is that it really connects with the human well, because actually, but you get them to slow down, and actually then the whole relationship slows down, and that's where you see those golden nuggets of activity changing. Whereas, some of the more traditional methods, I still have a place for training, absolutely, but where your dog is struggling, it's it can be really, really difficult. And with any training, loose lead walking is quite a difficult behavior for some dogs, and so it takes maybe longer than some people expect, and so it's getting that commitment, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah.
And I love the other books as well. You've got the scavenging and the recall, which again is really where I think the instincts take over, don't they? And the DNA and scavenging. You were talking earlier about they're trying to be calorie efficient. Scavenging is one of the most calorie efficient ways, and a lot of what we know about domestication kind of came about via scavenging and that sort of thing. So it's not something that your dog's just gone, oh, I'm just going to be a bit of a pest and do this out and about on a walk. It's been in their DNA for such a long time, for generations and generations. So I love that you find those what people see as problem behaviours and look at them organically from the dog's point of view of how to find solutions for them. It's fabulous. Have you got a favourite game from each of the books as well? Is there anything like from Scavenging you have a favourite kind of game from that one?
Let me think.
You got to remember which ones are in which books now. Sorry, I shouldn't. You shouldn't have written so many books. If you had one, you'd be able to go definitely this one. You're too good.
To be honest, my favorite game is from a different book. It's from the Rocket Recall book, because you can use it for scavenging problem, for hunting problem, for general recall. It's the chase game where you take something that is like bouncy, like a big treat, a chewy treat, or like a piece of sausage, and you toss it across the floor, and then your dog eats it and turns around. And the moment the head turns around, you can put on your recall cue, you can shout out your recall cue, and then you throw the next treat into the opposite direction. And so you can bowl your dog back and forth. And the nice thing about it is that the dogs love this, because they can run, they can chase something, they can hop on it, they can grab it, they can eat it, and then they can do it all over again. And they repeat and repeat and repeat their recall without even noticing. And practice makes perfect, especially with recall training. We need about 3,000 repetitions of recall for a maximum reliability in the dog. And you need to get those repetitions in under your belt. And you can do this perfectly with the chase game, because when your dog can chase treats back and forth, maybe 5 times, 6 times, you have these 6, 7 repetitions again in your that you can tick off your list.
I love that game. I was actually playing it this afternoon with both of my dogs in the park.
Yeah, it's so much fun.
And I can do it even on lead with that one as well. We can kind of do it on lead where they go across a bit and come back and then go in the other direction. But I love that. And I think with the sight hounds that I work with, one of the elements of that I love as well is they're coming through you all the time, because they're bred to hunt independently from us. They're not like a retriever or something where it's like, what would you like me to do now? It's that some of the breeds you work with where they're just bred to sort of see, act, go. And it brings you into that game. So you're getting that connection, you become part of the fun, which is hugely important, isn't it?
Absolutely. And what also nice for them independent breeds is you practice the recall, but they don't have to come and stay with you for a long time, because this is a real downer for so many dogs when you say, here, come, and then they come, and then they have to sit in front of you, and then you search for your treat, and they're like, oh gosh.
This is boring.
By playing this game, they can simply run past you and have fun, and it will still work out when you need it, that they come to you.
I think my go-to is bowling, just because I just love getting clients to shout bowling across the and stuff. I just think it's just one of those, and and most people in the UK know how to 10-pin bowl.
Yeah.
It's I just think it's a nice introduction in lots of ways to get people to understand the concept of fun, of the training and stuff. So
So if anybody has got any questions, feel free to ask in the comments, and we can answer those.
It's very quiet. I can't believe
those for you. I think everyone's just engrossed.
Yeah, no, exactly. I'm keeping an eye on it in case we do get any, etc. So
So do you find some of the games are evolving? Have we got anything more in the pipeline where you're going, this is another problem, let's have a look at this one? Or do you feel that you've covered kind of the core elements at the moment?
Yeah,
stick with the 4 at the moment. You've kind of covered what
No
you
more
want
no
to.
more books in the pipeline.
No more books in the
Oh,
pipeline
so
at the moment.
sorry, I've understood something completely else. It's already late in Germany. Forgive me.
Yeah.
Oh yes, yeah, it is.
Indeed, I do have a book in the pipeline, but it's been in this pipeline stuck for such a long time. I'm almost embarrassed to talk about it because I've never worked on a book for so long. It's about forest bathing. I think it's in English.
Oh, okay.
And basically it's like how to slow down in the forest for high prey drive dogs or high drive dogs, how to relax in an environment that is very stressful and activating for them. And I wrote this, or I'm writing this. She already did her part, but I haven't. Together with a lady who is an instructor on forest bathing for humans.
I was going to say, was it with Sonia?
No, it's not Sonia. It's somebody
okay.
else. Her name is
Somebody
Annette.
else.
And she's amazing. And I met her because she was a client with her puppy, and now he's a beautiful big Ridgeback. She will be on the cover of the book, and she is doing all the exercises and games for humans, and I'm doing the ones for the dogs. And then we have on one page the human activity and then the dog activity on the other side. But as I said, I need more time to finish this book.
You're in demand at the moment. Keep seeing you're on lots of fabulous, podcasts and training dog trainers across the world. I mean, it's just it's absolutely incredible what you've done and what you've achieved and where you are. You're just really, really in such high esteem with so many trainers across the world now. Where were you saying you were the other week? Was it the Falklands?
I was last year. I was at the Falklands, doing dog training with the dogs from Falkland Islands. It was lovely. It was such a special occasion. Yeah, it was wonderful.
Oh, fab. And off to Cyprus soon to train more dog trainers.
Yes.
So you're in the UK, so you're just absolutely all over the place. So yeah, I can see why you haven't got time to sit and write a book. It's just what you've created is so good.
Yeah. And obviously
everyone
you still
watches
have your family and your own dogs to look after as well.
Absolutely. So yeah.
In that sense. So, we've talked about, the challenges that dog owners might be getting. We've talked about the prey drive and that desire to chase and with the walking and the scavenging. If we bring it back to that hunting, because that is, I think, a lot of what our audience may be, curious about. What would be your best tip to an owner who has a dog that they think can't be helped because they are so stimulated by that hunt?
Oh, yeah. I see that a lot, that people say, well, my dog is already 5 years old. He's been hunting all his life, pulling the lead, chasing. So I think there's nothing we can do. And this is not true. So we can reach something with every dog. I have never had a single dog in my training where the owner has been committed. I have to say that too, because if the owner is not committed, then of course I cannot I don't have a magic wand or something like this. But if the owner is committed, we can reach something. And sometimes it's only little steps for me as a trainer. And I think we could do more, but it already puts so much or relieves so much pressure for the dog owner that the guardian is already happy with little steps, because they said, oh, we were never able to do this and that, and now we are, so it's fine. But you can always reach something. It's not the case that there are hopeless cases or stuff like that. So a concrete example would be, I was just working with a dog owner and her dachshund, and she was not able to have the dog off leash completely, was not able to do that. And after we worked with each other, she was able to have the dog off leash in certain areas where she felt comfortable to do that. So the dog is still on leash in the forest, and he's still on leash around big holes, because this is magic for this dog. But in certain areas they can be off leash, and he's very reliable now in these areas, and this is a very big progress. So so start it, try it. You never know. Sometimes I have dogs where I think, this is really a tough case, but then we reach so much. I would have never expected this. So try it, give it a try.
Yeah.
That's
No,
great.
I mean, I still keep teach my dogs because they're 9.5, and so I still teach them different things because I
Of
want,
course.
you know, I just think it's like Sudoku for dogs, basically, if and
Yeah.
when I have time to do any training. But, you know, I mean, I was talking before we went online about my own Dachshund client. You know, definitely is a challenging breed to work with because they have that natural instinct, and they're bred to be very independent, aren't they? You know, like most terriers as well. And so for that alone, you know, you can feel that you can't make that progress. But you know that we've got some lovely videos of them, you know, celebrating, you know, and you know the tools that you have brought to life in your books, and you know, in the training is you know we've done with you, and you know that they really work. And you know I think it goes back to, you know, if you're an owner, understanding the breed and what actually lights them up, you know, in that sense. So we talked about the predator chain and what their natural needs are, but you know, we've got quite a lot of mixed breeds out there. You know, the cockapoos that we have quite a lot over here in the UK and stuff. And you know, interesting, a lurcher, which is, you know, a sighthound mix, isn't it, Claire? You know, and they'll have different genetics in that sense. They'll have more prevalent, you know, potentially of one breed over another. But you know, if we truly take a step back and look at what the breeds are, and take some time to look at that, we can then use your games, I think, in a fuller way, because then we can really harness what the dog's going to enjoy and try and work in through that. And I think, you know, sometimes we don't spend that time as an owner to really understand. And you know, mine, we've got 5 breeds, so it was quite a challenge to work out which one was going to work.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. If it's okay to ask, a question that I get asked a lot is those unexpected moments. So if people are working behind the scenes with the predation substitute training and that sort of thing, but that moment you have, we sometimes have it where like a cat will come out and then it will just roll on its back and stare at the dogs or walk towards them, or sometimes call them suicidal squirrels that sort of run towards you and that sort of. Have you got any top tips for those emergency situations where something out the blue happens? Because I often talk a lot about management in those sort of situations to get out of them, but is there anything you could add to that?
Yeah, I mean, there will always be these moments that you cannot control. You cannot control, like you say, the cat under the next car or the deer bolting out of the forest right in front of you. So there will always be moments where you need to recall your dog. And the aim of predation substitute training is to not use the recall all the time and not need the recall all the time, because in those more traditional training programs, it's about recall, which frustrates the dog again. But sometimes it's not possible to do it otherwise. So yeah, you need a rock solid recall for that. And I can only recommend to use gamification, to teach the dog, so that the dog has a whiplash reaction, because he has practiced and connected his recall cue with fun, so that he wants to turn around and come back to you. Top tip? Good question. Yeah, tonight you can practice your recall in the most simple way. Each night you have one opportunity, and maybe each time in the morning, to practice your recall to make it rock solid and get 3,000 repetitions when you feed your dog. So you do put everything into your dog's bowl, and before you put it down, you call out your recall cue in a really loud voice. Even though you are in the kitchen, you pretend you're outside in the forest, you scream out the recall cue, you put the food down. And yeah, through these repetitions, we create a kind of, it's almost like a muscle memory. When the dog hears the recall cue, the head turns around. And they have done this so many times that the muscles in the end follow the cue, and not the other way around. So whiplash reactions are reactions that the dog does not think about. It's something that happens to the dog like through muscle memory.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Great.
That's great. Thank you.
Fantastic.
That's
Well,
really good.
we haven't had any questions at all that have come in, which I'm very surprised about. We've had quite a few people watching, so maybe we've just kept them entertained with our chatting.
Yeah.
Answered them as we go along, I think. So yeah, no, that's a good sign.
Brilliant. So Will, is there anything you want to, you know, just last passing comment, Simone, to anybody that, you know, share your website details. We'll obviously put them in the comments, etc. Anything that I know, you know, you've got a couple of free resources on your website that people can go and find as well. But anything else you wanted to add that we might have missed?
No, I think we're pretty good and we covered a lot. And I think the most important thing is that you start have fun with your dog again, especially when you are already frustrated and sad and you do not really understand what is happening. Claire, you said it, outside the dog is completely different. We have these Jekyll and Hyde moments with the dogs, and people are like me. 20 years ago, I was crying in the shower because I was so frustrated and I didn't know where to go. Start training, start having fun with your dog again. And this is the most important thing, that you create that bond with your dog, because everything else will follow when you have that bond.
Yeah, I think that's a lovely note to end on. Thank you very much, Simone.
You're welcome.
Oh my God.
Thank you so much for what you've done and for the world of dogs. It's just absolutely incredible. So much admiration for you, and hats off to you. And thank you so much for giving us some of your time. I know it's so valuable, and you talk to, you know, you do so much out there. So we feel hugely privileged to have you talking to us this evening. So thank you so much.
Yes, thank you so much for the invitation. It was lovely to see you guys again. It was really lovely. I enjoyed it.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.